Hello and welcome to Maths Games. Those of you who've been watching all the different games we've done so far will have seen that we've done a game about multiplying with the cars. We've done a game which involved subtracting with the pennies, and we did a game that involved adding and number bonds with the shut the box. So the operation that we haven't looked at so far is divide, and today we're going to be looking at dividing by grouping. And we're going to be using some Duplo blocks today. So I'm just going to move the camera down so it's focused on the table. And the game is called Grab and Group. And it goes like this. We're going to use our hands to take 2 handfuls. And then we're going to see whether we can group however many there are there in different ways. So I will get a piece of paper here to show you how we do the scoring. So this is my blocks. I'm going to try and group this number into 2s first of all. If I can group the number of cubes I've got into 2s, then I win 2 points. And I can do that, so I win 2 points. So what I'm going to do is find out how many I have here and write it as a number sentence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've got 10. I divided them into groups of 2 and I discovered that there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. So I can write a number sentence about that. I'll just show you my number sentence. Does that come up? And it's a really good idea to practice that with the divide sign so that your child is really seeing how the divide fits with grouping. But because I could divide it by 2, my score, which I'm going to write over this side, it's 2 points so far. So I've got a separate section for my score and I write the sentence there to practice. Now I'm going to see whether I can divide it into 3. Now those of you who know a bit about maths might already know the answer, but it's a really good idea to let your child discover for themselves. Can we divide 10 into groups of 3? Now we can't, because this poor fella is left on his own. He doesn't fit there, and so we can't divide it into groups of 3 without there being something left over. So I don't win 3 points. Now I'm going to see if I can divide it into groups of 4, but I see I've got 2 left over there. It's still not working. But can I divide 10 into groups of 5? Yes, I can. So if I get 10, I'm also going to be able to divide it into groups of 5. So I write my number sentence. 10 divided by 5 equals... How many groups of 5 are there? There's 1 group of 5. There are 2 groups of 5, so it equals 2. But because it's divided into 5, I win the 5 points. Because it's divided into 5, I win 5 points. So my scores are over here. And I won 2 the first time and 5 the second time, so that's 7. I could see if I could do 6 or 7 if I need to, but I can't do any of those. So I don't win any other points. And once you've worked out your points, you see who the winner is. So let's start with my eldest son. Off you go, 2 hands. Let's see whether you can divide yours into groups of 2 to start with. So this is a really important part of the process. And if you do it in a neat rows and columns, you're practicing arrays. This pattern that we're making here with these cubes, if we do it nice and neatly, it's called an array. So how many have you got?
16.
So should we write the number sentence? You started with 16. You divided it into groups of what?
2.
And how many groups of 2 have you got there?
8.
Now, so we've written a number sentence, but over on the other side of the sheet, you're going to write what score you get. So at the moment, you get 2 points because you divided it into 2. Keep going. Can you do 3? Again, I've got a feeling my oldest son already knows whether he can do 3. But for children just learning about divide, let them find out. Can you do 3?
No.
No? So keep going. Can you do 4?
Yes.
So let's write the number sentence. We started with 16. What did you divide it into?
4.
Divide it into groups of 4. And how many groups of 4 were there?
4.
Because it's in groups of 4, for our game, you've won another 4 points. Can you divide it into groups of 5?
No.
Can you divide it into groups of 6? 7? No. Can you divide it into groups of 8? Maybe put them there because you think we're running out of space there. Can you divide it into groups of 8?
Yes.
So you can write another number sentence. You started with 16. You put them. These are long groups of 8 this way. This is a group of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is a group of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you divide it into groups of 8. How many groups of 8 did you have?
2.
But it's 8 points that you win. Can you divide it into groups of 9? And we can quickly see that every group we're trying now, one of them's getting longer, one of them's getting shorter. It's never going to work. So we know we finished. We are not going to count a group of 16. I know we can do a group of 16, but if you can only get one group of it, then it doesn't count. There's one more rule I need to share before my youngest son had a go. And that is that if you find that you can't group your cubes, or whatever objects you're using, you don't have to use Duplo, you can use whatever you've got lots of, but if you find you can't group it into any number at all, then you automatically win 5 points. That's a little consolation prize for finding you can't do anything. So it's my youngest son's turn now. Could you please, the cat needs to go out, could you please take 2 handfuls of cubes? That's 1 handful of cubes. And another handful of cubes. So start with dividing it into 2. Can you divide these cubes into groups of 2? Let's find out. Can we divide it into groups of 2 without exactly? That's what we're really trying to find out, without any leftovers. So could you divide it into 2?
Yep.
How many are here? Because when you write the divide, you start with that number.
14.
So you've got to write 14. You divided it into what? Groups of... What did you divide your 14 into?
Groups of 2.
So practice writing the divide sign. And then 2. And how many groups of 2 are there?
7.
Good. For this game though, you're going to win 2 points, which we'll write over here, because you were able to divide it into groups of 2, so you win 2 points. Shall we see whether we can divide it into groups of 3?
Yep.
Off you go. Could you divide it into groups of 3?
No.
So we don't win 3 points. Shall we try 4?
Yep.
That's not working, is it? So we can't do 4. Shall we try 5? Well, that's another group of 4, but it still didn't work, did it? So now we're going to try 5. That doesn't look like it's working. Then we're going to try 6. Worth keeping going. There's 2 left over there, so can we do 7?
Yeah.
We can do 7. So let's write the number sentence. We started with 14. We divided it into groups of what?
7.
And how many groups of 7 did we have?
We had...
There's a group of 7. 1 group of 7. 2 groups of 7. But for this game you win 7 points because we divided it into groups of 7. So you write your 7 there. You've worked out your total. So Bertie's total was 2 add 4 add 8. If you need to, because that's a bit tricky for you to work out in your head, you can draw the dots and count them. if you don't need to draw, make sure you do the right amount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So yes, his score of 14 is correct. I don't know if you're seeing that. The dots, where were the dots? I just did them over there. So if you need to draw the dots when you're adding your score up, then you can do. And I would say make sure if you're a grown-up, you don't jump in and do that. You get your child to work their own score out. If they need to draw dots or use their fingers, let them, but don't do it for them. My youngest son has worked out his score, and his score was 9. So in this particular game, the winner today was my oldest son. As I said, if you don't have these kind of blocks at home, you can use anything you've got lots of, but just make sure, if it's really small things, instead of doing 2 handfuls, you might say just 1 handful. Otherwise, you might be grabbing and grouping forever. Enjoy.